If you're looking at the Senate races across the country, one of the things that Senator McSally said last night is that the control of the United States Senate goes right through the state of Arizona, which was why last night's debate was so important to both candidates, but also to the country as a whole. Joining us now is Senator McSally. Senator, thanks again. And wrap up for us. How do you feel you did, giving yourself a grade for last night? How'd you do?
Well, I felt it went really well, Mike. I wanted to make sure Arizonans knew, not just listening to slick TV ads funded by Chuck Schumer, but what's at stake and what their choice is. This isn't about whether you like a fighter, pilot, or an astronaut. This is about whether you want a fighter who has a record of fighting for Arizona, cutting taxes, rolling back regulations, supporting the military, securing the border, and supporting judges who are not going to be activists, or whether you want someone who's a counterfeit, who literally will say nothing on TV, pretend he's not a Democrat or a political operative, but is, doesn't want people to know about him being sold out to China, about being bought and paid for by Chuck Schumer, or that he has been a political operative for one of the most sophisticated organizations over the last decade, raising and spending $57 million to elect people like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and other extremists. And this is what's at stake, the Senate majority and the direction of the country. So I wanted to get that contrast out there, and I think I did. What do you think? I
think so. The point you were making about the $57 million that he was standing, you had a picture of him with his arm around Ilhan Omar. Yep. To me, that resonated, but I do this every day. Do you think the average voter understands that what he is, or believes now what he is saying about being a moderate or a centrist, and then having those pictures, the two don't connect? Do you think you made that point well enough?
I did, but I'd ask Arizona voters to go to Counterfeit Kelly. You can see more information, check the sources. And this is the bottom line. He is a sophisticated political operative. He's trying to pretend he's not a Democrat, that he's not political, but just follow the money. The most, again, radical extreme elements of the left have funded his organization, and then he is flying around the country to Minneapolis to ensure that Ilhan Omar gets elected, who's leading the effort to defund the police and abolish ICE and the anti-Semitism that comes from her, and Rashida Tlaib, who he also bankrolled and helped get elected. Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom, lockdown Newsom, in California. Or even close to home here in Arizona. He wanted David Garcia to be our governor. He supported him. He bankrolled him, the guy who said we should have no southern border. So don't be fooled, Arizonans. This is all counterfeit. He's trying to fool you that he's not an operative, that he's not with the left wing. But this is the most sophisticated, one of the most sophisticated political organizations enabling and funding and electing the radical left, and Mark Kelly is the leader of it. So the facts are important for Arizona to understand what's at stake here.
I think the most talked about moment of the night was when you were asked and pushed about not defending John McCain to President Trump. And when you used the very technical fighter pilot term of it pissed you off, we share that same thing. I had a very close relationship with the late senator, and I thought it was a horrible thing that was said about him by the president, but I also support the president. I always say I feel like a kid caught in a bad divorce. But you made a clear distinction last night that you've said those things. What were those conversations like with the president when you said to him you defended John McCain? How did he receive it?
Well, I've had many of those conversations, Mike. I don't divulge all my personal conversations, but multiple conversations. I have been very direct. I'm a fighter pilot. And what I said last night characterizes those conversations. But look, you're right. Look, Arizona voted for John McCain and President Trump. It's the media that wants to turn this into a binary choice. John McCain voted with President Trump 83% of the time. So I've worked with John McCain to save the A-10, to rebuild our military, and I'm working with President Trump also to, cut our taxes, roll back regulations, support our military, secure our border. So, he just needs to let him rest in peace. And let's move forward in a way that is supportive of what America needs, what Arizonans need. And I made my feelings clear last night.
Okay, so between now and Election Day, early voting is starting, and between now and Election Day, what do you need to do, or what can you say, or do you want to say to those uncommitted voters that still haven't decided between you and Mark Kelly? What's the most important thing to say to them?
Well, Arizonans, it's been an honor to represent you. I'm your fighter. I've fought to cut your taxes, $2,000 on average per Arizona family, to rebuild our military, to secure the border, to get relief out to you during this pandemic, to fight for you in Washington, D.C. I was ranked the sixth most bipartisan senator. I'm a pragmatic problem solver, getting things done. I got the most legislation signed into law in my first year as a senator. I tied for number one. So being effective and fighting for you is what I've done. What's at stake here is enabling the radical left. A vote for Mark Kelly is a vote for Chuck Schumer, and they've already said with 51 votes, they will make D.C. a state. They'll expand the Supreme Court, the Green Bad Deal, open borders, government takeover of healthcare, raising your taxes, biggest tax increase in history, activist judges on the bench. This is what's at stake. So I'd encourage everybody, don't be fooled by the slick TV ads. You've got a fighter with a record of fighting for you. I fight because I care. I've been through difficult things in my own life, and it has propelled me to fight for others, stand up to the powerful and fight for the vulnerable. Or you have a counterfeit who's bought and paid for by Chuck Schumer, who's led one of the most radical organizations out there to enable the radical left, and is sold out to China in multiple personal financial dealings. I told the story last night. I mean, while he was active duty, he went over on a junket paid for by the Chinese government trying to bring the elite from America into their orbit, said it was the most meaningful thing he's done in his life, second to being in space. Went back for 2 more years. And then in 2006, given the opportunity to go to space, Charlie Duke, an Apollo 16 astronaut who supports me, talked about how he brought just a few things. You're allowed to bring like 1.2 pounds worth of stuff, an American flag, a state flag, a picture of his family. Mark Kelly brought a Chinese Communist banner to space in 2006. Of all the things you could choose, this is the biggest geopolitical threat of our generation. I'm standing up to China. He's been in business dealings with China. This is what's at stake, Arizona. We're neck and neck right now. We're down to the wire. I'm humbly asking for your vote. Let's save the country, save your freedoms, save your safety and security and our way of life.
Senator, it's always good to talk with you, and look forward to talking to you again before election night.
Thank you so much, Mike. Take care.
Thank you. That's Senator Martha McSally. And that right there, what you heard was the message from the senator's campaign during the debate last night. Was she able to convince the voters in Arizona that she is the right person for the job, and as much that Mark Kelly is not the centrist that he claims to be in the television?